Welcome to Matenaer On Air. So very happy to have you along with us. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Calvin Butenhoff, coming to you from our studio in sunny downtown Waukesha. You can always join the conversation. You are part of the show too, 855-752-4842, or leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Coming up next hour, we will talk sports, NFL draft. Calvin, I know you're pretty excited about that. That is coming up. It starts tonight. So Paul Noonan from the Acme Packing Company will be here to talk all things sports balls at 11:33, and then at 11:50, weather and wine with Civic Media meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Find out what's coming up for the weekend, see what we can expect, and we also have Brewers tickets.
That means another trivia question.
We have Brewers trivia coming up for you. Tickets for Saturday night's game. The Brewers hosting the Yankees at AmFam Field at 6:10. So your chance to pick up those tickets for Brewers trivia is coming your way at 11:21. Wanted to start off, though, all kinds of breaking news.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of,
it's
to take a breath.
It's just like all around our feet, broken news, just everywhere we look.
So there are arguments being made in front of the Supreme Court right now as we speak on whether or not a United States president should have full and complete immunity forever and ever and ever. It's really quite something. We're going to play a little clip, Calvin. This is Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor asking the Trump attorney to kind of clarify on how far this presidential immunity should extend.
If the president decides that his rival is a corrupt person and he orders the military or orders someone to assassinate him, is that within his official acts that for which he can get immunity?
It would depend on the hypothetical, but we can see that could well be an official act.
He could, and why? Because he's doing it for personal reasons. He's not doing it like President Obama is alleged to have done it, to protect the country from a terrorist. He's doing it for personal gain. And isn't that the nature of the allegations here? That he's not doing these acts in furtherance of an official responsibility. He's doing it for personal gain.
I agree with that characterization of the indictment, and that confirms immunity.
What? What?
That last sentence, he just kind of slips it in like, I win, peace out. Ah!
Twitter is exploding with coverage of this. Benny Sarlin on Twitter, the Trump legal position is essentially the president can't be impeached after his term ends. Therefore, the window to fully investigate a coup plot, impeach and convict over it, only then prosecute would be all 2 weeks in a January 6th scenario. It's just Looney Tunes.
Yeah, that last line, he just listened to her talk and said, well, yeah, so I'm right.
Yeah.
I'm correct, right?
Sure.
So I'm going to hit lunch now. We're done for the day, I guess.
His attorney said that the indictment of Trump confirms immunity because the characterization is that there's a series of official acts that were done for an unlawful or corrupt person. Justice Sotomayor interrupting, saying no, because immunity says even if you did it for personal gain, we won't hold you responsible. How can that be? That is essentially what they're arguing, that the president is above the law.
Yes.
In any instance.
Yep.
No matter what.
Yep.
He cannot be held accountable.
And this all came from, if I'm not mistaken, him just standing on stage going, I have to have immunity. I have to have this. Give it to me. Give it to me. Let me have it. Give it to me. And somehow they just got, and that wasn't too far ago. That wasn't too long ago. That wasn't like years ago he said that. He made news about this year. And he's the Supreme Court arguing this point. And they're just, and just like Trump himself, they're like, yeah, and every word you're saying makes me right.
Yeah.
Because I'm right.
And like you said, just give it to me.
Just give it to me.
I should have it.
Yeah.
Because I
me.
want it.
Just let me have it.
Kind of like I think he's lived his whole life.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I deserve it. I should have it. And his whole argument, too, Donald Trump has said in the past that No president can effectively govern if he doesn't have complete and total immunity. You know what? Up until you,
Yeah.
it's kind of worked okay.
They've enjoyed a high level of immunity from people trying to sue them for various things. People try to file lawsuits against the president all the time. It doesn't go anywhere because you can't sue him for individual grievances. It's great. The law is working the way it's supposed to be working. It's just you who feels like I can't, like, I don't take responsibility for things. I will never take responsibility for things. I'll say it straight to your face. COVID response, not my fault.
Right?
You know,
I don't take any responsibility at all, is what he said.
price rises, not my fault. All these things, not my fault. Never my fault. So, but now you found an area where the law is saying you are at fault and you are trying to upend the entire system so you can just say, I didn't do it.
Or if I did do it, it's fine.
Yeah.
Essentially, I can do anything. I have complete and total immunity. I can stage a coup. I can try and overturn an election. That's completely fine.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting to see how this argument goes in front of the Supremes today as it continues. And I was texting with Maggie Dawn a little bit earlier before the show, and I know I'm sure she's going to be talking about this on her show from 2 to 4 p.m. Maggie's a very accomplished attorney.
Yes.
And we'll be able to break this down certainly more clearly than you and I can, as she has the experience. Tom from LA is on the line. Good morning, Tom. How you doing?
Good morning, Jane, and good morning, Greg.
You almost got me there, Tom from LA.
I got you, buddy. Hey, first off, we the people ultimately are the government, and the more people that realize that, the more power we the people will have to quit electing representatives that are about giving tax cuts to billionaires and actually do something for we the people. I wanted to actually say one of my grievance that I have, actually, and I just want you guys to be aware of it, or maybe other people will talk about this.
Grieve away.
But it is the top of the hour news and the bottom of the hour news. And what I mean by that is the AP or whatever it is, they said they constantly are saying things like, oh, and Donald Trump is stuck in the courtroom. Well, no, Donald Trump is in the courtroom. We don't have to put the word stuck in there like it's like it's a hardship for him versus other people. You know what I'm saying?
No, I hear what you're saying, Tom. And unfortunately, I don't have a direct line to the AP reporters. But I understand your gripe about that. Yeah, he's not stuck. He's there because he got in trouble, and now he's being held accountable. So yeah, it certainly is. Words are important. We say that all the time. They are.
Yeah.
Words are important.
Yeah.
Anything else, Tom?
In the courtroom.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, they should be using words like he is in the courtroom. You know, they have to stop. I hear it all the time, and I hear where the AP has some type of bias, I believe, for Trump. Also, the Civic Media news. I find that a lot of times that they actually are just either putting, they go for the person, of course, that's going to get you the most views, but it's like they stenographer what it is that the Republicans have said. Like this morning, there was this thing.
Okay,
about,
Tom, I'm gonna stop you a little bit because you're kind of going off the side a little bit. I tell you what, Calvin, put Tom on hold, and we will give you, if you want to talk to our news department, we can put you directly in touch with our news department. So go on, put Tom on hold, please, Calvin, and we will get you an email where you can bring this up with them, and that will be more directly. Bill from Oconomowoc also on the line. Good morning, Bill. Thank you so much for joining us. How you doing?
Oh, great. And it's usual. I don't know how your radio station picks such perfect topics for our environment and our culture. But I'd just like to speak a little bit on the news. I find it so ironic that Fox, Newsmax, and all these goofballs on the right think it's unusual that students at a university protest. My God, where were they the last half century?
Yeah.
When you go to a university, you look at everything. You don't look at one thing. So, of course, there's going to be different points of view. That's what a democracy is about. But they act like our country's on fire, yet they walk around the issue of a man with 91 felonies and 26 sexual assaults. They don't even talk about it. Well, history is being made as we speak. This man's on trial because he's making history. It's never happened in our country. He's right. This has never happened. We never had a man with that kind of conviction or charges run for president. So let's not call him Mr. President. Let's call him Mr. Felon.
Well, and what Tom was talking about semantics and words just before you, Bill, and it drives me crazy when people call him President Trump. He is the former president.
He still retains that title, though.
Granted,
Yeah.
but he is a former president. He is not the president. That's like David Clark continuing to call himself Sheriff David Clark. It drives me cuckoo.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
it does.
All right.
It makes me
All right.
crazy.
It's
You,
all right.
you used to be. I
Okay.
used to be color guard in high school. Do I still get to claim that title? It's absurd.
But you get never mind. All right. I get your saying. I get your saying.
Thank you so much, Bill. Really appreciate it. Karina, we have just about a minute left. What did you want to say? Thank you for listening.
Hi guys, it's lunacy, absolutely, and the fact is that he asking for immunity, and that first immunity president is going to be Biden, and not him, if they're gonna do it, and that means that everything would be just everything what he's accused Biden doing to him will be completely reduced to zero.
Yep.
So he not even calculated to that point. Then. I mean, we're talking about Putin not having an immunity, and all of a sudden, and other thing, what I want to say, Jane, to your point, that he can do anything, including selling his secrets for this government.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Karina, and thank you as always for listening. Really appreciate it. Yeah, he's essentially saying whatever I do,
Yep.
it's all good. All good.
And today, if he did something wrong, be like, well, I'm the former president. I am the president. I'm Donald Trump. I get to do whatever I want, right?
855-752, 4842. If you would like to join the conversation, stay close. You're listening to Matenaer On Air, coming to you across the Civic Media Radio Network.
She gets mad and she starts to cry. She takes a swing.
Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Dr. Slide on the board, ready to take your calls at 855-752 or 842-855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. We are talking about the arguments happening in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. An attorney for the former president, John Sauer, telling the court that Donald Trump could have legally assassinated his rivals because he should be immune.
Yep.
So it's all good.
Folks, don't worry.
Nothing to see here.
No.
It's all fine. Justice Sonia Sotomayor does not seem inclined, however, she's made several comments about, we don't have a king.
No.
That's not how it works here. That's kind of why we left.
Yeah, this whole thing of like, I thought we were a freedom-loving, freedom country, And now all of a sudden we've got a guy who wants to be the all-important, all-powerful, immune king,
And above the law.
and a Congress who wants to keep other countries from being free. This is a very weird time to be living in this country. Very, as you said yesterday, I believe you said we live in the upside down.
It feels like it.
Yeah. So this is
And especially when we see some of the arguments going, I mean, the mental gymnastics these arguments require is really quite something.
yeah.
I wish my brain was that elastic. I just don't think it is.
Yeah. I cannot get the sound of that man's voice out of my head.
Mr. Sauer.
Mr. This is
John Sauer, that's his name. What?
No, it's just, but his voice too. He sounds like a guy who should be called Mr. Sauer. Hey, everybody. I'm going to talk to you about qualified immunity.
Maybe he's had a cold.
Oh, yeah.
We don't. I've never heard him speak before, so
Fair point.
I don't know.
Fair point.
Speaking of the former president, Donald Trump will be in Waukesha, our home base, next Wednesday, May 1st. His second trip here this year since that campaign rally. He showed up on Election Day in Green Bay on April 2nd. According to a news release issued by the campaign, Donald Trump will talk about his efforts to deliver safety and affordability to Wisconsin. And I'm assuming that the safety issue is related to the situation at the border. And we've talked about this. The border is a mess, and the border needs to be addressed. Tragically, there was a bipartisan bill put together by James Lankford of Oklahoma.
Yes.
A very staunch Republican.
Yep.
Who submitted the border deal, and it was rejected.
Because your boy called up and said, hey, I need that as campaign fodder this fall. Don't do anything about it. And then like 2 weeks later, or not even 2 weeks later, Republicans in D.C. have the nerve to say, Biden's border is a mess.
Yeah, Biden's
this is
border
all
crisis.
his fault. Yeah. I'm assuming he'll probably talk about the border, and then he'll ramble on to other things, and he'll ramble on to the election. Anything that has to do with safety, because it's going to keep our elections safe and freedom safe. He's gonna freedom our safety and safety our freedom.
In case you're questioning whether or not everyone agrees that Donald Trump is the one who killed the border deal, here's a little clip from Mitch McConnell, also a well-known weakling Republican.
What a snowflake!
I know, right? Calvin, let's play that clip from Mr. Mitch.
The demonization of Ukraine began by Tucker Carlson, who, in my opinion, ended up where he should have been all along, which is interviewing Vladimir Putin. And so he had an enormous audience, which convinced a lot of rank and file Republicans that maybe this was a mistake. I think the former president had sort of mixed views on it. We all felt that the border was a complete disaster, myself included. And Chad, you remember covering the phases we went through. First, there was an effort to make law, which requires you to deal with Democrats. And then a number of our members thought it wasn't good enough. And then our nominee for president didn't seem to want us to do anything at all. That took months to work our way through it.
And here we are.
Yep. Your nominee for president, our nominee. That's what he said.
Don't fix it.
Don't fix it.
Don't fix it.
I need that.
Mike from Kenosha is on the line. Good morning, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us. What did you want to say?
No, thank you. I appreciate you taking my call. What a beautiful day today.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of with, I believe it was Tom earlier that called in, and you know, the way that really all of the major media news groups are coddling yet up to today this issue and kind of twisting their vocabulary, their wordsmithing, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm still hearing them over and over and over refer to Trump as President Trump, but that in the next breath they refer to President Biden just as Biden. There's all kinds of little smoke and mirror things here, you know, that you know, they call you mentioned the border a minute ago. They say it's wide open. If they don't say it's an open border or there's challenges in our immigration system that we all know. No, they go superlative. They go off the deep end and get everybody all feared up and mistrustful. Now, for sure, the days of letting the media groups who are absolutely driving the narrative across our nation, to let them continue their smoke and mirror messaging without calling them out, I think it's irresponsible and certainly very dangerous.
Well, and
I would like
go. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
And I would love just one little quick point. The Democrats need to flush and clean up their own house, and Republicans in this case need to be responsible and clean up their own house. If Mitch McConnell and the leadership of the Republican Party would not be so far down the rabbit hole with this Donald Trump character, they would take care of this issue on their own. This should be gone. Donald Trump should be removed by this time in 2024. And if we had a healthy two-party system, that would be done.
I absolutely agree with you, Mike. Thank you so very much for calling, and thank you for listening. And you're right, Mike. That's why it requires folks to really listen carefully and to read carefully with how things are couched, no matter what news source you're using, right? Because those little tweaks can make an enormous difference. They really can. And I can remember when President Obama was in office and I was working somewhere else.
Former President Obama.
Thank you, former President Obama. That's my own gripe. And it was never said out loud, but it was certainly, to my eyes, intentional on the part of some by never to refer to him as president.
Yeah, because there's always those people who say, not my president. Yes,
Right,
they are.
right.
If Donald Trump wins, he's your president. You didn't vote for him, but that's the way it is.
He is still the president of the entire country. Absolutely. Yep. We have news on the way next. Gary from Sussex, I see you there. If you can hang on through the break, we will take you when we come back. Stay close. You're listening to Matenaer On Air, and this is coming to you across the Civic Media Radio Network.
You're all the things I've got to remember. Be shying away. I'll become for you anyway.
Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Sweet Cal B on the board, ready to take your calls. Join the conversation. 855-752-4842. Leave a comment on the live stream if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform that Elon continues to ruin. Lots of breaking news this morning. Arguments are going on in front of the U.S. Supreme Court on whether or not presidents are entitled to complete immunity. The question arose whether Donald Trump is immune from prosecution for what he did in office while trying to retain power after losing the 2020 election. Donald Trump will be in Waukesha next Wednesday. He's going to be stopping at the Waukesha County Expo Center at 2 p.m. General admission tickets are available. He is expected to talk about his efforts to deliver safety and affordability to Wisconsin. And right before we went to the news, Greg, we were talking about, I'm assuming, I don't know this for certain, but the safety issue will be talking about what's happening at our southern border.
Mhm.
Gary from Sussex has been very, very patient. Thank you so much for waiting, Gary. What did you want to say?
Well, I'm very patient because I like listening to you guys. Now, I've called a number of times, and I'm a conservative.
Yep.
And I'm a mega Trump fan. But I like talking to you guys because you guys are fair. And you guys are polite to me, and I'm always polite to you guys.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
Absolutely.
Of course.
And the thing is, I encourage, the reason I listen to you guys, and not just you guys, but everybody, is because I learn from listening to you guys. And then I watch Fox or I watch Newsweek or, any of the newsies stations, and then I listen to their side. And then I make my own conclusions. So I really encourage your listeners to start watching Fox. At least you get to hear the other side. Otherwise, the people say, I never watch Fox. I never watch Fox. Well, you know what? You might learn how the other people think. Now, as far as I'm concerned with the border thing, and they just, President Biden signed a $95 billion aid package, okay? Now they sent, I don't know, I didn't break it down, but it was something like 40 or 60 million to Ukraine, a little bit to Taiwan, and a whole bunch of money to Israel. Now at Colombia, they got these signs, don't send any more money to Israel for bombs. Well, you know what? That money, every cent of that money that went to Israel is going to be going for bombs and bullets and everything else, weapons and cannons and tanks. Taiwan, the same thing. I support sending this money to Ukraine, but I would sure like to see an audit done and see what they buy, because Ukrainian, like Luzinski, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, he's fine, but I think he might be a little bit on the corrupt side. Who knows the oligarchs that he has and where this money is going. I would like to see this thing audited. And I think that some of the Republicans was against this because you just can't give these guys a blank check. And as far as there wasn't enough money put aside for the border, and I think we need to secure our border. We live in a sovereign nation. I lock my doors at night. I don't want people coming into my house. I can see some of these extreme lefties that don't care who comes across the border. They probably do leave their own homes unlocked at night, and I'm using that as an extreme. I'm making a point.
Okay.
But Biden had the authority to use executive orders to start closing that border. And you guys know that because the day after he was elected president, he shot down everything that all his executive orders that Trump had. So he could close the borders, and you guys know that. And, I want to listen to what you guys have to say.
And thank you so much, Gary.
Okay.
As always, we genuinely appreciate you calling. We genuinely appreciate your perspective. And you're right. We shouldn't all be living in our own information silos because that's not good for anybody. It's not.
I don't disagree with you at all. Now, I can't give you specific receipts as far as every single expenditure, but I can tell you of that $95 billion.
Talking about the aid to Ukraine.
Yeah, let's start there. First, $61 billion to Ukraine to replenish their weapons and stockpile. Getting this from the AP. U.S. weapons stockpiles, an overall amount provided to Ukraine to purchase weapons, about $13.8 billion, and then $9 billion of economic assistance in the form of forgivable loans. $26 billion is going to Israel and providing humanitarian relief for the people of Gaza. The people. About $4 billion would be dedicated to replenishing Israel's missile defense systems, and more than $9 billion of the total will go toward humanitarian for Gaza and amid the Israel-Hamas war. and then 8 billion going to Taiwan for various things as far as towards submarine infrastructure development, and additional 1.9 billion to replenish U.S. weapons provided to Taiwan and other regional allies. So that's that is not, of course, how much they spent on lunch that day.
It's not a line item kind of budget.
But that's a basic idea of where the money is going. To answer your question, as far as the executive order to just close the borders, honestly, I don't know if he has full and total authority to do that. If he did, why did Trump do that on any of his days in office? Did he close the border 100%, just shut it off so no one could get in? And you talk about the president not doing anything in his time in office. He put forth a package to secure our borders. He worked with both sides of both sides of the aisle, which we mentioned earlier in this show. James Langford from Oklahoma.
Yep. Republican,
MAGA guy, loves being conservative. It was voted down because the president of the United States, former president of the United States, Donald Trump, said, hey, put that in your back pocket, put it in a drawer. I need to campaign on that. You solve this now, I got nothing. And you can't do anything, and I need the flowers on this one. So if Biden hasn't done anything, Trump didn't do anything, and Trump kept them from doing anything in the Congress.
To keep it alive as a campaign issue,
Yes.
as you said. 855-752-4842. Beth from Green Bay has been waiting. Good morning, Beth. Thank you so very much for your patience. What did you want to say?
Hello?
Hi, Beth. Hello?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Wow, she hung on. She hung on for a really long time to say nothing. You can always call back. 855-752-4842. Leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Sue Kolowski on the live stream says, how come we never hear conservatives like MTG talk about the murders that happen in the U.S. daily by Americans? They only want to talk about crimes done by people who are undocumented, which is rare. And I'm fairly certain, Sue, that you're right. And I think that they have found that undocumented people commit far fewer crimes than legal citizens of this country. Because the last thing they want to do is get in trouble and get deported.
Yes. As we're talking right now, I'm trying to find information. I found articles that are all titled, "Can the President Unilaterally Shut Down the Key Functions of the Border?" Biden himself has said on record that he is exploring whether or not he can do it. I have a feeling that Trump didn't do it because he didn't have the guts to do it. Or he probably told, you can't really do this. This is not something that would look good for you to just...
Well, wasn't there? It was called Title 42. Title 42 is a pandemic-era policy that virtually closed all avenues for migrants to seek asylum in the U.S. Under Title 42, if an individual presented at the border or came into the U.S., even if they claimed asylum, they were immediately sent back to Mexico or their home country without any of the processing of that asylum claim. So Title 42 was purportedly a public health measure. Once the pandemic was over, the Title 42 powers no longer existed.
Yeah, and well, that's the... I guess my point is, the current president, Joe Biden, has said on record that he is looking into whether or not he can do this, whether or not it'd be supported by the courts. He's looking in to see if he can actually have the power to do what the Republicans are asking him to do. I just don't like this thing of like a president unilaterally
Can just do this.
Instead, he's a guy who works with people. He likes committee. He likes collaboration. And for him to just be like one day to sign a piece of paper that says, hey, borders are closed, that's not who he is. And I don't think that would hold up in court.
And is that what we want in the president? Is someone who just unilaterally says, this is what I want, this is what I'm going to do. And if you follow along with some of the arguments happening in front of the Supremes right now, yeah, that is what they want.
Yes. Doesn't sound like, excuse me, it doesn't sound like the acts of a free country. It sounds like a king saying, today I close the borders because I feel like it.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm always happy when Gary calls because he's right. He is a conservative. He is a mega fan. He's all those things. But when you ask for the questions, Gary, we're going to give you the answers because the receipts are there. It's pretty simple information out there. I found the breakdown of what we're giving those countries in one search. There might not be the detailed receipts of what you're looking for, but that was a pretty comprehensive breakdown of where that money is going.
Couple of texts that I wanted to get to before we're going to be coming up against the break. Texter listening here in WAUK this week, I subscribed to govtrack.us to personally watch out for Congress and what sneaky bills they try to pass. Sneaky might be a misnomer. I don't think so. But really, no one who isn't a journalist pays attention. And what I've seen this week alone, there have been over 50 proposals and bills. It's not your job to teach me the processes of government, but these items can contain multiple pieces of legislation, each of which is pages of legalese. Do our politicians fully comprehend every item they vote on? If not, how are they making their vote? That's a really excellent point. And no, I don't believe all of our elected officials even bother. They have someone read these things for them, and then they write like Cliff's Notes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I also think we need to keep in mind that in many instances, I would imagine that they are told how to vote.
Oh my gosh. They're told how to vote by the groups that are writing the laws.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
Jake from Milwaukee also had a text. Fox has proven to lie to its watchers. You are absolutely right, Jake. They got fined almost $500 million.
Yeah.
Or almost $1 billion for essentially lying to their audience about the November election.
Yeah.
About Joe Biden's election.
A text that I want to talk to about Robert from Richland Center saying, I believe we do not send Ukraine money. The U.S. buys weapons usually from U.S. companies and sends them actual weapons, so they cannot divert money to other uses. That's not entirely true. As I mentioned, $9 billion of that money is going to be economic assistance in the form of forgivable loans. So we will be giving them some money. And it's based on the idea of trust, that they're fighting for their freedom.
And they're our allies.
Yeah, so we do give them some money, but we do give them a lot of equipment.
Mike from Kenosha also texting in, the U.S. is committed to treaties referring to asylum legally bound by law. Make Congress do their job, not by executive power or SCOTUS. Yeah, wouldn't it be nice, Mike, if they would do their jobs? It's just, we're so demanding, Greg.
That's the kind of thing of like executive power to me, or executive orders is like, fine, if you won't do it, I guess I'll do it. I'll take out the trash today. I'll mow the lawn because you guys can't get it together. You know, that I think that's my big problem is even if Joe Biden has the unmitigated power to do so, I don't want him to do it. I want Congress to do it. I want Congress to come up with a solution because it's their job.
That's why we pay them to get things done and accomplished by working together, because ultimately, again, we are all Americans.
Yep. And we also pay these individuals
pretty well.
I know.
I think that's a pretty good
Pay
salary.
me half as much, I'll do Congress job.
Pay me half as much, and I can promise you I will get less done than they're doing now.
Pay me half, give me the health insurance and a couple of suits. And then I'll be good.
It's a wash.
Oh my God. I'll live outside of DC. I can afford that.
Just a reminder, coming up next hour, Brewers tickets. We have tickets for the Brewers hosting the Yankees this Saturday night at 6:10. So stick around for Brewers trivia coming up at 11:20. Stay close. You're listening to Matenaer On Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. good morning, and welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jay Matenaer, Greg Bach, Calvin, coming to you live from our studio in sunny downtown Waukesha. Wherever you are listening to Civic Media, Oshkosh, Eau Claire, La Crosse, Amory. You can always join the show at 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and or Twitter. A couple of texts that we wanted to get to about the border. Tom texting in, the reason why Trump could close the border completely was because of COVID and the international pandemic. Democrats have put together a plan like Greg and I were talking about. The Republicans don't want to fix the border problem. They want it for a campaign issue. If President Biden would close the border completely through executive order, the Republicans would impeach him in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. That's, I think, what I was trying to get on my face earlier was, I understand closing the border for safety in a pandemic. You just want to keep people safe.
Yep.
But I don't hear Republicans saying close the border because of pandemic problems. They don't believe in it anyways. They just want him to close the borders. And Tom's right. If he closed the borders, they'd be like, how dare you?
How dare you step outside of your authority to do this? And it's Congress's job.
Yes.
To make these decisions, right?
That's why I ran for Congress.
Carmela texting in. Good morning, Carmela. Happy Thursday. I'm so relieved the money was finally approved through Congress to Ukraine. It's good to hear the breakdown of where the money is going to other countries and Ukraine especially. It is a valid concern to make sure the money is going where it is supposed to go. Yes,
and
for sure.
And that is easy information to find. Like I said, I Googled it and it came up the top thing on AP, and there it was right there. And Carmela is just a wonderful we'll just say thank you, Carmela.
Oh, Carmela, thank you so. She sent us this incredibly beautiful letter.
Yes.
It made our month.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Actually,
2024 is sparkling now.
Want to get this in real quickly before we go to the news at the top of the hour. Members of the public weighed in yesterday on a plan spelling out what election observers can and cannot do at Wisconsin polling places. The proposed rule from the WEC, the Elections Commission, comes months before the next presidential election. Unlike poll workers or election officials, this is from WPR, who help run elections. Electioners observers are people who just signed up to watch. They have rights under state law. The same law gives a polling place's chief inspector or clerk some discretion on where you can tell these people can be. The WEC rule would let observers stand as close as 3 feet away, but no closer. It also lets them stand as far as 8 feet away, but no farther.
From the voter or
from the voter?
Oh, no. No.
Opponents, including people who worked as election observers, say the 8-foot range is too far, making it hard to see what's happening in a meaningful way.
No, I don't care. Get away from me. You shouldn't be allowed in the room.
This again just feeds into this whole false narrative that our elections are stolen and our elections are inherently corrupt, that we have to have people breathing on fellow voters. Think about what happens when you go to your polling place and you have to show your ID, and then they have to find you on the sheet.
I always find it first.
And then another person sitting next to them has to find it on their sheet. There are all kinds of checks and balances. There are. I don't think we need this, but I also think if they don't make some accommodations for these people, then it's going to be, well, obviously you're trying to hide something. But obviously you won't do anything, so obviously you're covering something up.
But the problem I have with that line of thought is the next time they come back and say, we need more freedoms, I need to see their ballot before they vote. I have to put it in the machine because I don't know what they're doing. I have to vote for them. They have to tell me. I know it sounds crazy, but these people are crazy.
Well, and Laura Trump said something pretty disturbing earlier this week. She is, of course, now the co-head of the Republican National Committee.
Trump National Committee.
And she essentially said that we're going to have our members collecting the ballots. What?
No, you will not.
What? We're going to have our guys collecting the ballots from the RNC. I don't think that's how it works.
once again, I'm gonna do what I've done in the past and say to those who are listening who like the former president, are conservative, how would you feel if someone said, I need to get your ballot first before you vote? I'll put it in the machine for you.
How would you feel if someone from a different political party than yours was the one who's going to be collecting all the ballots?
I mean,
Would that ensure confidence?
to me, freedom is hampered by the mere ask. So I don't care who it is. Would you want to give your ballot over to somebody who isn't the little old lady helping you feed it into the machine and giving the little sticker? No, I get the level of anger I'm feeling right now. The idea of someone who will exercise what they believe is a right to stand 3 feet away from me while I vote is the most insane, counterproductive, anti-freedom thing I can think of. If there's a problem, there are lawyers usually on call. There are election lawyers on call. You call them and bring somebody down if there's a problem. You don't. These are chaperones.
It's intimidation is what it is. Rob from Port Edwards is on the line. Rob, we only got a couple of minutes left. Thank you for joining us. What did you want to say?
Hi there. I am a poll worker here in Port Edwards. I was in Green Lake when I lived on Green Lake. But in any event, we just went through this latest iteration, and we had folks, it's a very Republican community here. And we had folks come up and they were questioning us left and right on all of our protocols and whatabouts. And they have heard all of these stories and all of these terrible things. And you know what? At the end of the day, after 15 hours of doing this crazy stuff, we all collectively went and looked at each other and said, these people aren't normal. There's something wrong here. And the other folks working with me are GOP, red vested crazy, but they all are on the same page with myself, which is this is wrong. We're not doing anything whatsoever other than holding a clean and fair election. So that's my takeaway for the world. There is actually sanity out there, even amongst some of the folks that are a little tilted.
That is wonderful to hear, Rob. Thank you so
for
much.
doing the good work.
Yes, thank you for being a poll worker. We need more of you.
Yes.
And Keep Our Republic, by the way, is a group that we've talked with before. They take people through the process of how our elections work in order to reassure folks things are working the way they're supposed to be working.
And just keep our republic.
News is next. Stay close. You're listening to Matenaer On Air, coming to you across the vast Civic Media Network.
That's what I like about you. 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 That's what I like.
Welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Calvin Butenhoff coming to you live from our studio in downtown Waukesha. No matter where you're listening, you can call, you can text at 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Just a reminder, if you ever want to get in touch with the show directly, you can email it to Jane Says, Janesays, Jane Says at civicmedia.us. And we will see that. And if you have suggestions for guests or something going on in your community, no matter where you are, please let us know. Email us at janesays@civicmedia.us. Coming up at 11:20, Brewers Trivia.
Yeah.
Greg has been furiously searching for a trivia question for you. We have Brewers tickets. Brewers hosting the Yankees Saturday night at 6:10. We have a pair of tickets for that coming up at 11:20. And then 11:33, as he does every other Thursday at this time, the Acme Packing Company sports guru Paul Noonan will be here. We're going to talk about the Bucks, the NFL draft, and I want to talk about Caitlin Clark's shoes.
Me too. I've got questions.
Civic Media meteorologist Brittany Merlot then joining us to round out the show at 11:50 with a little weather and wine, and let us know what we can expect as we start heading into the weekend. We're going to come back to what we started off last hour with, because arguments are happening right now in front of the U.S. Supreme Court on whether or not former President Donald Trump should have complete and total immunity no matter what he does. And I know Maggie Dawn will be probably breaking this down much more thoroughly than you and I can. Maggie's a very accomplished lawyer, and will certainly have some perspectives. I know you're going to want to catch that from 2 to 4, and Todd Alba as well. I'm sure we'll be covering this from noon to 2 p.m. But Donald Trump's lawyer this morning, John Sauer, essentially suggested that a president could have a political rival killed or order a coup as long as it's an official act. Now, just roll that around in your brain just for a second.
I've been since I heard the audio.
In one exchange, Sauer was asked if a president felt his rival was corrupt, is it allowable for him to order the military to kill this person? And John Sauer said that could well be an official act. Okay.
Yep.
It's fine. Sauer was asked by Justice Elena Kagan if a president staging a coup to stay in office by using the military deserves immunity. The Donald Trump's attorney said it could well be. So essentially, it's like whatever he wants to do. It's all good.
Their whole opening is just a shrug emoji. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Go for it.
Do we care?
Yeah.
MSNBC legal analyst Ellie Mastal saying this is insane. Trump is putting in fancy legal arguments that the Supreme Court should grant him absolute power if he's reelected. Justice Sotomayor asks John Sauer if Portis orders the military to assassinate a rival, is that an official act for which he can get immunity? Sauer, yes, it could well be an official act.
Yeah.
I am baffled by anyone who supports this argument, because then this would apply to President Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Right? And Trump's whole claim that a president cannot effectively do his job if he does not have absolute immunity. I go back to this, that up until Donald Trump, every other president has not had complete and total immunity, and some of them got stuff done.
Yeah. Something that popped in my head while we took ourselves a water break was, if, let's just say, hypothetically, it goes through and they say, you know what? Click, clack, goes the gavel. President's got immunity, totally can do whatever he or she or they want forever and ever. Amen. How do they not translate that then to the international stage? They say, I'm the president. I can do whatever I want. I can bomb this country, and this country can't hold me accountable. I'm the president of the United States of America. If I can do whatever I want in Oklahoma or Nevada or Portland, I can do whatever I want in, Pakistan and Israel and England, because I'm the president.
And I want to.
You're only it's an egotistical position of power anyways. You do this, you are only going to attract more and more just like vile people who are, I mean, literally going to become Marvel villains. We're not far away from Doctor Doom coming in trying to run the country then.
Even Fox Faux News, Howard Kurtz, essentially saying this morning that he believes this is a losing case. Based on SCOTUS questions left and right, I see no way the court would grant a president absolute immunity. The examples, including election fraud, bribery, coup, assassination, forces Trump's lawyer to admit these are private acts that are not protected, though he insists that official acts are.
Another piece that just kind of popped in my head. Don't you think it's kind of funny / ironic that the Supreme Court is making a decision on what is and what is not like immune behavior from a group of 9 people who has shown deep corruption and the inability and inflexibility to let other people come in and say, you're doing this wrong. We need some order here. Nope, we're fine. So it's the Supreme Court telling the president, you need to keep it down.
We're the only ones that have complete and total immunity and lack of oversight.
Exactly.
And lack of ethics or ethical standards to which we can be held because no one's above us.
America.
It's a good job if
the
you can get it.
greatest country on the earth.
Some other things going on that also broke right before we came on the air this morning. The New York State Supreme Court today overturned Harvey Weinstein's 2020 conviction on felony sex crimes. A 4-3 decision found that the judge presiding over the case allowed prosecutors to call as witnesses a number of women who said that Weinstein had assaulted them, but their accusations were not part of the charges against him. Now, I am not a lawyer by any stretch of the imagination. Isn't that hearsay?
It sounds
How is
like
that even admissible? Again, this is a question for Maggie Dawn.
So I asked you like a 2-part question on this one, and I'd love to hear. I have a feeling like that'll be the first thing she addresses without me having to ask it, which is, one, if this is an overturnable offense, why would the prosecution do it in the first place? And 2, why wouldn't the defense called it out in the second place immediately, said this person can't be a part of this. I'm calling for a mistrial. They're not part of the complaint. So that's what. So we're years away. We're years removed from the whole thing. He's rotting in prison, and then all of a sudden, someone said, "But you know what? How did everyone miss it?"
Isn't that what the whole appeals process is, though? Is you're looking for something to pick at?
But it seems like such an Yeah, I mean, yes,
it does seem egregious.
Yes, it seems like an L1 mistake to me. That first year law school mistake. That's what it sounds like to me. And everyone missed it.
The appeals court determined Weinstein had not received a fair trial. The 4 judges in the majority wrote that he was not tried solely on the crimes with which he was charged, but instead for much of his past behavior. Unclear how this is going to affect Weinstein. He's 71. He's currently being held at a prison in Rome, New York. Not a free man. In addition to the possibility the DA's office may try him again, in 2022, he was sentenced to 16 years after being convicted of rape in California.
So he's gonna stay in prison because he was convicted of other things.
Yeah. Not just
he's not coming out of prison.
Not just this case in New York.
Yeah.
Weinstein accused of sexual misconduct by more than 100 women in New York. He was convicted of assaulting 2 of them.
What? That's like serial killer type stuff. Like, we think he killed 42 people. We got him on 2 charges.
But again, it doesn't appear that he's going to be released from prison because he's still serving time for this conviction in California. For all women who banded together for the Me Too movement, this has got to be a big disappointment. But again, I feel like this was mishandled.
Yes, agreed. And I am not a woman, but I also, a question for the women out there listening, is there a party that says, yeah, of course. You know what I mean? Like
You're not surprised.
We have our moment. Here we are. And someone says, but they screwed up. Of course they screwed up. Because that's what happens when we're trying to get stuff done. Someone finds something, yeah, it just feels like such an egregious admission of process that I don't understand how anyone, even court reporters who have seen trials happening for decades, like, no, you can't do, like, no one said, no, you can't do that.
Again, I'm spitting in the wind because I
Yeah.
am not a lawyer and I don't have a legal background, but that just seems, again, to allow these women to testify who are not part of this case.
Yeah.
I don't understand why that would be admissible.
Also, yeah, because like you can allow people to testify. Like if I'm suing you, like they're witnesses, they're people who have a story to tell. I didn't know they had to be part of the original complaint. It almost seems like it would be a what do they call it when a bunch of people sue? You're part of class action.
Class
almost.
action suit.
But yeah, it just doesn't make sense. And I feel like Maggie Dawn and or Jim Santel will be like, let me
take you through
Let me
it.
break it down to you in one sentence. You'd be like, I get it now. Simple words. Thank you.
Well, and as one of our texters said too, the amount of legalese, it's so confusing unless you know the lexicon, unless you know the jargon. It's like reading a foreign language. At least when I have tried to look at some of these legal briefs. That's why we have very smart people who
Yeah.
go to law school and can deal with those confusing words.
I can understand like 25% of it. And I feel pretty proud about that.
You should.
But yeah, I'm planning on listening. If I assume Maggie is going to cover it because it's a big story. But if not, then we'll ask her anyways. I just would love an explanation because it's one of those things that makes you go, huh?
Andrew from Maine texting in, going back to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court case has never been about granting immunity, which Trump has shown daily since leaving office. He does not believe, given his constant whining about the current administration prosecuting him. This has always been about delaying the criminal case until after the election. You got a good point there, Andrew.
Yeah.
It is. And that's always been his MO in court. It's delay, and hopefully the other side runs out of money. When we return, baseball trivia.
Sorry, very hard turn.
I know, hard turn. All right, stay close. You're listening to Matenaer On Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Dr. Slide on the board. Coming to you from our studio in downtown Waukesha. Join the conversation. Call, text 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We do have Paul Noonan going to be joining us at 11:33 from the Acme Packing Company to talk all things sports. We'll talk about the Bucks and their playoff run. We're one each, right? Game 3 is tomorrow.
Yes.
Game 3 is tomorrow. And we'll also talk about the NFL draft that is going to be happening tonight, starting tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And then Caitlin's shoes.
Caitlin Clark's.
Caitlin Clark's
lucrative shoe deal.
Lucrative shoe deal. Although I saw one guy saying like she's getting ripped off. I'm not quite sure how
On the
that works.
shoes or on her pay for the basketball team? We'll talk about more in a
Okay,
little while.
we'll talk
Yeah,
about that
yeah,
with Paul
yeah.
Noonan coming up at 11:33. We do have baseball tickets right now.
Two of them.
Two of them. We have a pair of tickets for the Brewers game. They're hosting the Yankees at AmFam Field. This is for Saturday night's game at 6:10. If you would like to win the tickets, you do have to call. This is a call-in trivia question. Greg Bach, let's hear the question.
The question is, who won the most games on the 2022 Brewers pitching staff? This is a multiple choice. So,
all right,
your choices are for who won the most games on the 2022 Brewers pitching staff. Is it A, Brandon Woodruff, B, Corbin Burns, C, Adrian Hauser, D, Devin Williams, or E, my mother, Jacqueline Bach? You don't know this about her, but she pitches a mean pitch. So, here, who won the most games on the 2022 Brewers pitching staff? Brandon Woodruff, Corbin Burns, Adrian Hauser, Devin Williams, or my mom?
855-752-4842, 855-75-Civic. If you would like to play for these Brewers tickets, Brewers hosting the Yankees Saturday evening, 6:10 at AmFam Field. Call right now, and you've got a chance to pick up those tickets. And then Calvin will get all your information, and we make sure that you get those tickets before you head out to the ballpark on Saturday.
We got a fun live stream comment from Tony Zimmerman. A fun fact about the Milwaukee Brewers that they're the only team in Major League Baseball that was originally founded as a club in the minor leagues before being promoted to the majors. And in fact, the Brewers was the name that back in the early 1900s, a minor league team called the Milwaukee Brewers.
I did not know that.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And then, they were the pilot. Then we bought the pilots and they came here.
Look at your wealth of baseball knowledge.
I should have been hanging out with kids in high school. Instead, I was just in my room watching television.
You were a lonely child.
Yeah, I'm a lonely adult. All right.
Don from Madison is on the line for our trivia contest. Good morning, Don. Thank you so much for joining us. How you doing?
No problem. I'm doing great. So what are my choices again?
All right, here's the question, Don.
The question is, who won the most games in the 2022 Brewers pitching staff? Brandon Woodruff, Corbin Burns, Adrian Hauser, Devin Williams. And my mom.
I'm going to say Devin Williams.
Sorry, that is incorrect.
Sorry, Don. Better luck next time.
We will be giving away Brewers tickets all season long, so please try again.
All summer long, we will have Brewers tickets. 855-752-4842. If you would like a shot at the trivia question, now you've got a little better odds because one of them is out.
You can still pick my mom, though.
You can still pick Mrs. Bach if you want. Terry from Cross Point is on the line. Good morning, Terry. How's it going?
Hi, Terry.
Pardon me?
I just said, how you doing?
How are you guys?
Hi.
We are
I'm
good.
Great today.
Good.
I'll be better when I win 2 Brewer tickets.
Do you need the question again, or do you know the answer?
I think it's Woodruff.
Ding, ding, ding. You are correct, Terry. Good job.
Done, Terry.
Who do you plan on giving the ticket to? Wow, that's hard. Words are difficult.
Oh, my husband.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we'll go.
Do you hit many games this season, Terry?
We try and go to a couple.
Yeah.
So maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I haven't been to AmFam Field in a really long time. I'm curious about the food, Terry. Is there one thing when you go to the ballpark you have to have? Because I've heard the food has gotten so good.
Wow, that's a tough question. I guess I just go with a brat.
Nothing wrong with that.
There, right?
Yep, nothing wrong with that.
I had a beer braised brat with secret sauce, mustard, sauerkraut, and a little bit of raw onions. No, sauteed onions.
Ooh.
Oh. Well, Terry, thank you so much for calling. Stay on the line. Calvin will get your information and we'll get you those tickets. Thank you so much for calling. Have a great time. And also, if you can and want to, take a picture of you and your husband at the game, and you can post it on social media and tag us at Civic Media US or at Matenaer On Air. We'd love to see what you were up to while you're having fun at the game.
Sounds like a plan. Will do. Thanks.
Thank you, Terry. And again, hang on. Calvin's going to get all your information so you can head out to the ballpark Saturday night as the Brewers take on the Yankees. And thank you so much for listening. Big news.
Huge news. Huge.
Milwaukee Public Market
What? What happened?
Voted best public market in the country in USA Today's 10 Best Readers' Choice Awards. We have an award for everything, don't we?
I know. I'm
Best
here,
corn chip. As
the thing is as the kids say, the Milwaukee public market slaps. It's a great place to go. I go there as much as I can because I think their food's great, their atmosphere is great. I am not a paid endorsee or endorser of the Milwaukee public market. I'm just a guy who likes open space and food.
For someone who has never been there, is it all restaurants?
No, it's actually so there is quite a few restaurants. There's a little market area where you can get like to-go food or you can buy like groceries in there. I believe it's Mediterranean. There's a great little vegan spot called On the Bus. There's a good little Mexican spot, coffee shop, wine bar. You can sit and have a glass of wine or a drink if you'd like.
Now you're speaking my language.
There's ice cream, there's veggies, there's seafood. There's a shop for like Wisconsin centric T-shirts and knickknacks and whatnot. If you're leaving Milwaukee that day, don't buy them something at the airport. Go to the Milwaukee Public Museum or public market and buy them something there. Go to the museum too and buy something. It'd be fun and educational. But it is it is a small place.
Yeah, it's not huge.
And it is packed to the rafters with stuff to do in there. I mean, it's a lot of fun. And then when you walk out the door, you're in the historic Third Ward,
which is pretty cool.
Beautiful walking area, lots of other great restaurants. So yeah, check it out. Check it out.
Well done to the Milwaukee Public Markets. This endorsement brought to you by Greg Bach of
Send me gift cards.
News is next when we return. All things sports balls with Paul Noonan from the Acme Packing Company. I hope you'll stay with us. You're listening to Matenaer On Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. Good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Sweet Calby on the board. You can always join the show. Call or text at 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842, or leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform Elon continues to ruin. He joins us every other Thursday at this time to talk all things sports. The Acme Packing Company's Paul Noonan joins us. Good morning, Paul. How's it going? I think you're a little frozen there. Paul, can you hear us?
Can now. Sorry
All
about
right.
that.
How you doing?
Doing all right. Apparently, my office building today is not getting great internet. Hopefully, it holds out.
Don't you hate that when you're in the middle? This happens to me at home all the time when it pops in and out for like 12 seconds, and then it's essentially annoying. Let's start off and talk about the Bucks. We are 1-1. Game 3 is tomorrow. Do we think Giannis is going to be back or not?
So I do think when he does finally get back, it will be a bit of a surprise just because of the nature of this injury. I think, go out, practice, test it, see how it's progressing. And once he's good to go, he'll be back because, he is the freak that he is. But if I had to wager, I'd guess that he's probably going to miss one more. Progress reports have generally been that he's making progress, but that he's not all the way back yet. That said, it'll be a surprise. Like when it happens, I'm guessing it'll be sprung somewhat spontaneously. So, and I think he's close, but if I had to guess, I'd say he's probably not going to be back for at least one more.
And remind me again, Paul, of what injury Giannis is dealing with.
It's a calf injury. It is related to his Achilles tendon. It's not a tear because he would be done if it was a tear, but it's like a sprained or strained Achilles tendon down there. So just gotta work on that and don't make it worse. And hopefully, also when he gets back, hopefully he can still move. That's the other thing that you worry about with him. But I do think it's not quite there yet, from rumors at least.
Dame Lillard had some pretty good games, at least in the first half. So is he finally stepping into his role, do you think?
I do think he did wake up for the playoffs here. It looks like he's putting in the work now, which is good to see. And the second half of that first game where he didn't score at all, I do think that was almost by design more than anything else. The Pacers ridiculously covered him in the second half and left everything else open. I think wondering if he would just try and shoot over double teams, which he didn't, which was smart. And he did have a good game two as well. The problem with that game was really that the Pacers just shot the lights out, which happens once in a while, and you tip your cap and move on. But that's not their usual shooting percentage, especially on threes over the course of a season. So I think if Dame keeps playing this well, even without Giannis, they'll have a decent chance in every game.
Well, that would be good because there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people very excited and crossed fingers and many crossed appendages, hoping that they're going to be able to take another one.
Hopefully so. And hopefully they can steal it. And it's only been 2 games. It's a small sample size, but he really does. Dame looks like he's really into it. Like he's playing better than he's played all year, which is kind of what you were hoping. Like the hope with the Bucks was always that they'll get through the regular season, they'll get a good seed, and then they'll kind of turn it on when they get to the playoffs. And it looks like that might actually be what happens, which would be great.
Well, go Bucks. We want to see this get done. We would like to see another ring.
This is 5 games, right? Out of 5?
I feel bad for this. This is out of 5, yeah.
Okay, all right.
I don't know that for sure. I got to double check that. I have forgotten. Like, they've moved it around more than once.
Here comes Calvin.
It's a 7-game series.
It's 7-game series.
7 games.
So they changed it. They actually did change that from 5 when the Lakers got a scare in the early 2000s. But I thought they'd gone back to 5 at some point. But I was like, no, it's 7. But I'm not 100% sure. So Calvin, thank you. It is 7.
That's a lot of basketball for first round.
Yeah, the 5 was knocking out too many high seeds. That was the issue that they found there. It was too random.
So when a team doesn't get their way, they get to say, no, we want to do it this way. And NBA's like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Pretty much.
Oh, that's good to know. Paul Noonan is here from the Acme Packing Company, and we're talking all things sports. NFL draft is tonight. Calvin, I know you will be watching this, correct?
I'll definitely watch the first 10 picks or so, but then it kind of slows down.
So who are you watching for? Who are you hoping for?
Well, I'm a fantasy football fan ahead of a Green Bay Packer fan. I'll admit that. So I'm most interested in where the quarterbacks are going to land in the first round, particularly Drake May and Jaden Daniels. I think someone's going to over draft JJ McCarthy. I think that's a mistake, but I think it's going to happen.
What do you think about Calvin's picks, Paul?
Calvin, I think, is basically correct there. Yes. Honestly, from a real football perspective, I'm terrified that Drake May lands on the Vikings, that the teams ahead of them mess this up to a degree that allows Minnesota to get there. With a lot of quarterback prospects, especially the more raw ones, we usually say, well, they'll be okay if they land in the right position. Minnesota's the right position. Like Minnesota, I think, is well set up to make a lot of the quarterbacks who have some flaws in their game work out okay. I actually think McCarthy'd be okay there, but Drake May would be like a potential perennial all-pro if he landed with Minnesota. So to the extent you have rooting interests in the draft tonight, you definitely want Washington or New England to take Drake May 100%, a million times over. And you want JJ McCarthy to fall to the Vikings or Jaden Daniels, honestly. I like Jaden Daniels, but he has a couple of, I would say, major flaws in his game. The main one being that he takes more sacks than anyone else on earth. That doesn't tend to work in the pros that well.
Should there be a special prize for that, Paul? I just feel, I don't know. There should be some acknowledgement for that.
Unemployment.
We call it the Justin Fields Award, actually, after the. They're a little more similar than people like to give him credit for. The other thing you want to root against in this draft, early on especially, is the Bears getting. So the Bears are going to get Caleb Williams, who is a good quarterback, and they really can't screw this up. They've basically said they're taking him. They should be all right there. But they also have the 9th pick, and if they are probably going to get one of Rome Odunze, Washington's excellent receiver, or Joe Alt, Notre Dame's phenomenal left tackle. And so if both of those guys are gone, they can screw up that pick. And that's what I'm rooting for early in the draft, is for the Bears to screw up their 2nd pick. That would go a long way toward making me happy.
Anything else we should be watching for?
Um, the Packers have so many options. 25 is just an area where there's going to be a lot of good players all kind of on the same tier. Especially offensive line wise. I think the odds I said last week, they'll probably take an offensive lineman. I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up trading up for Cooper DeJean. There's just been a lot of smoke around him. He is a defensive back for Iowa. He is very good. He can play cornerback and safety, and he's been in for visits. He's like a prototypical. He fits a need for them, but I don't think he's quite going to make it to 25. So if there is a trade up, I think it'll be for him. I also won't be surprised if they just trade back for more picks, because at the end of the first round, the guys kind of flatten out a little bit, and they're all of fairly similar level. So if somebody wants to jump up, they'll be doing some deals there.
The Acme Packing Company's Paul Noonan is our guest. He joins us every other Thursday at this time. Big decision regarding high school sports in Wisconsin. Paul, can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so the Wisconsin WIAA voted to not allow name, image, and likeness money for high school students, which it was a little surprising. Apparently, a lot of other states have adopted this. I'm not that surprised, just because of there's been a backlash against the college NIL policy. I think justifiably so. College sports is a mess right now. However, it's tended to be less of a mess in high school, just because for most high schools, you can't transfer, you can't leverage things into like basically free agency. And so all it would have allowed mostly is for high school students to get a smaller amount of money from local businesses and things like that. That's not going to happen, and honestly, it's probably fine. It's one thing. College kids are adults; they are grown-ups. Them getting paid for work is fine. The college students, of course, can work and be paid, but this is actually school. The high school athletics are bigger than they used to be, but that's fine. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon, and that's probably good, because the big mistake college made was being so hardline on kids not getting paid for so long.
Yes.
That the way that the current NIL functions is really like the black market that existed. It just made light in front of everybody. So it's not organized. There's not enforceable contracts, and everybody's a quasi-employee with no recourse one way or the other on living up to NIL money. High school wouldn't be that way, because you have to play at your school, and you can't really just move around schools. But I think high schools generally should take a lesson from college, and before you implement it, do have some level of organization as to how payment's going to work, how advising kids is going to work. Some financial literacy training, probably not a bad idea, but to keep the black market aspects out of any market that does develop.
Yeah, some financial advising, especially for these young athletes. I worry about that all the time, and you end up hiring an accountant, your cousin's friend who went to school, and then things do not go well for you, and so that should be a requirement for all these kids.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad idea to just have that, generally speaking, across the population.
Yeah.
It's certainly for a bunch of 15 and 16-year-olds that might be getting paid, but not in Wisconsin, at least for the foreseeable future.
Caitlin Clark, basketball superstar, getting a signature shoe as part of an endorsement deal with Nike. Clark went to the Indiana Fever, #1 overall in last week's WNBA draft. She's going to sign this 8-year, $28 million deal, joining the likes of LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kevin Durant, Elena Del Don, and now her own Nike shoe. Is this a good deal for her?
Absolutely. This is a great deal for her. And one of the good things about basketball compared to the other sports, generally speaking, is good depending on what you're looking at, but it is a star-driven league. And in terms of women making progress against the men, it's one of the probably not easier, but if you are a star, that's the one you want to be a star in, because you can leverage that. Like, Michael Jordan started it with his own shoe. She's really following in the footsteps. And this is, Caitlin Clark becoming the bona fide star that we saw her become. I think there was some skepticism among at least a small part of the media, whether she would be able to actually leverage her post-college career into something this lucrative. We saw like Darren Ravel, who is a financial reporter, not the best one, said basically she should stay at Iowa. She can get paid more there. And a bunch of smarter people said along the lines of, no, like endorsements continue. She is the star. She is the excellent player, and that has proven to be the case. And this opens up the door because I think this is going to work. Like Nike's not going to lose money on this. People are going to buy Caitlin Clark shoes for a long, long time. And this opens up the door for so many other people to do that as well, which is great.
Well, and Greg had asked a question when we were kicking this around before we went on the air on whether or not they will be available. The Caitlin Clark shoe will be available for both men and women.
That is actually a good question. I don't know.
You said you would buy a Caitlin Clark shoe.
Absolutely. I would totally buy a pair of Caitlin Clark sneakers.
I would too.
Absolutely. Maybe they'll make them in, I don't know what my shoe size would be in women's shoes. Like I think I
might not want me to buy her shoes, but they would be too cool for me perhaps, but totally on board. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's fantastic. And they should, I mean, I said to Jane earlier, women can go and buy Jordans. Let's make it available for everybody. That'd be so much fun.
Well, and when I've seen, just some of the fan reactions and among kids, and it's not just little girls who are all excited about Caitlin Clark. It's little boys too, which is great. It's just a good thing all the way around. It really is.
Yes, it is.
And you said something like she is absolutely a star. She's a superstar. But the thing too is that like a lot of those guys, I think you just mentioned, you said like they make their money on their endorsements. I mean, some of them get paid a lot from the NBA, don't get me wrong, but like some of them get paid to wear watches too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Paul Noonan joins us every other Thursday at this time. He writes for the Acme Packing Company, and we talk all things sports. Thank you so very much, Paul. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Sounds good. See you then.
Stay close. When we return, weather and wine with Civic Media meteorologist Brittany Merlot. That's up next. You're listening to Matenaer On Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, the Calvinator on the board. You can always join us. Call or text 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Just a reminder to download the Civic Media app wherever you get your apps. It's absolutely free.
It's absolutely free.
It's absolutely free. Nice one, Greg Bach. And it gives you the ability to call and text directly all across the network to whatever show you're listening to, whatever station you're listening to. And as we like to say, the Civic Media app probably won't change the course of your entire life, but it shouldn't make it worse.
Thanks.
How's that for a cell line? How's that?
That's great.
Huh? Come on. Brittany Merlot is here for Weather and Wine. She is our Civic Media meteorologist, and she joins us every Thursday to give us a little update. It was chilly this morning.
Yeah, it was. My
Yeah.
gosh, I'm tired of the cold mornings, right? I want to start planting. I'm ready for spring, but we've got another one for parts of the state again tonight.
Who is going to be affected by this freeze now?
This is definitely going to be into the Fox Valley area, Green Bay, down along the shoreline. In Milwaukee, you could see some of that, but mostly north, falling into the upper 20s tonight.
Whoa, baby.
It was frosty this morning when I left the house.
Was it?
Yep.
You can see it on the grass.
Saw it on the grass. Back car window was needed the defrost.
A little frosty. Well, hopefully after this, we'll start heading in the right direction. What does the extended, at least going into, because I know we're supposed to get some rain then too.
Yes, we've got a soaker headed our way this weekend. So today's the day to be outside doing stuff, enjoying the nice weather. After today, it's pretty much over. I mean, you could squeak out a little bit of nice walk maybe on lunch tomorrow, but storms are pushing in. Winds are going to start to increase tonight as this big low pressure system is only taking off and moving into Nebraska tomorrow, but it's going to affect us from that far away. So that means as it's moving through the entire weekend, we're going to see showers, thunderstorms. It's going to be a soaker at times. Some storms could turn severe, and we're also looking at another system trailing right behind it for Sunday, Monday. So it's just going to be dreary, dark, thunder. I like the thunder.
I like
Thunder
thunderstorms
rolls.
too. But what concerns me is that, and I would assume that there's still some parts of the state that actually need the moisture and are still a little behind. I don't think we're in drought anymore, but there are still some pretty dry spots. But it's like a nice 1.5, 2 days of a soaker and then a couple days to dry out. And then the next round of the soaker would be preferable because the ground just gets so saturated. There's nowhere for all this water to go.
Absolutely. So we are going to see those chances of some rivers starting to rise, which is fine because I know a lot of rivers across the state now are still pretty low at this point. So I'm not too worried about rivers flooding, but that will be happening. And then, of course, the drought, like you mentioned, we are about 19%, I believe, the entire state. So just 19% of the state is dry. That's amazing. I mean, I don't think
Yeah.
we've been that well since April, May of last year. So
Well, that's good news.
good conditions there. But like you mentioned, we're looking at anywhere. Here's how the rain's going to go. Tomorrow to Saturday morning, we're looking at about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch. We'll get a little drizzle throughout Saturday, but then Saturday night and into Sunday, Monday, we could be anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of
Oh,
additional
boy.
rain. Yes, those storms are going to be packing heavy downpours. They could turn severe. Right now, the Storm Prediction Center put us into a slight risk, which is pretty elevated here for us for Saturday and into Sunday. So keep that in mind. It's going to be real rough out there.
I want to tell you also, and my husband loves your forecasts.
Oh, thank you.
He brought this up out of nowhere the other day, and I was in the kitchen, and he came in and he said, "That Brittany, I like her. I like her forecasts. She gets to the point. She gets right to the point, and without too much messing around." And I said, "Well, that's because she has 30 seconds." But okay.
So you know what? I'm gonna add to that. What I like about the forecast you give is that you just did it now where like someone might be like, "You want to hear a secret? I got some gossip." Instead, you're like, "You want to hear about the drizzles coming up this weekend?"
Let me tell you down low.
I got some weather secrets I'm going to share with you.
No, but he really loves that you don't spend a lot of time. I think the TV weather people drive him crazy because they take so much time at the beginning of every newscast. And he's like, just get to it. Just tell me tomorrow.
I'll give you a little secret because I was a TV meteorologist. They want you to, they just tease you for the first part. We're not even allowed to get to the point. It's just, how do we get you to stay for the whole newscast? So he's right on the money.
I've tried to explain that to him, that there is method behind this madness. And he's like, I don't care. They should all do it like Brittany does it. So, okay, well, we will call them.
Brittany Malo will be starting a master's class in meteorology presenting and just good humor funnery.
Yes.
Brief, concise, and to the point.
Yes, indeed.
Brittany Merlo joins us every Thursday at this time as we head into the weekend. Let us know what we're going to be expecting. Thank you so much, Brittany. Really appreciate it. We will see you next Thursday.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
You as well.
Bye.
Bye.
Real quickly,
Yeah.
Laughing Tap.
Yes.
If you want to laugh
At a tap.
at a tap, you can go this weekend.
Get tickets now because the early Saturday and early Friday show are sold out. Thursday tonight's Thursday. That last time I checked, 10 tickets. I'm saving until the very last second here. And then the late shows Friday and Saturday. There's 5 shows altogether. Friday and Saturday late have tickets. Early Friday, Saturday is sold out.
Wow.
Tonight has 10 tickets left. And the reason why is because we have one Mr. Michael Longmire, who is a cast member of Saturday Night Live, coming to town. Yes, he will be here doing 5 shows.
That's cool.
And as I said, 10 tickets left for tonight. Friday, Saturday early sold out. Friday and Saturday late still available. Special event. I believe tickets are $25 at the door, or $25 period, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, it's going to be an amazing time. He's a fantastic comedian. This is one you don't want to miss because he is this is our second or third SNL
That's a big get.
employee. Yeah.
LaughingTap.com.
LaughingTap.com for all your comedy needs. Come on down. Say hi to me.
All right. Thank you, Greg and Calvin, and to our engineers. Without you guys, nothing works. Thank you so very much, everyone, for calling and texting and for listening. It genuinely means everything. I hope you find some joy today and you have the chance to share it. Stay with us. News is on the way next, all across the Civic Media Radio Network.